Will Rex Heuermann be linked to more murders? That question is on the minds of people in several states, including one right next door. Investigators have noted several eerie similarities between the 4 victims connected to Heuermann in Gilgo Beach, New York, and 4 women found murdered in Atlantic City, New Jersey. The 4 Atlantic City victims, Molly Dilts, Cam Raffo, Barbara Breeder, and Tracy Roberts, you see there, were all sex workers like the victims in the Gilgo Beach case. They were all strangled. They were all found dumped close together. Unlike the Gilgo Beach case, however, no arrests have been made in Atlantic City. The eastbound strangler, that's what they're calling the killer in New Jersey because all 4 victims were found facing east, remains at large. The police have zeroed in on a few people over the years, most notably Terry Olson. The victims were found in a drainage ditch next to the motel where Olson worked as a handyman. He was questioned by police, even gave a DNA sample. And even though he was never named as a suspect, some people, particularly true crime fans on social media, continue to suspect that he had something to do with the murders. So will the arrest of Rex Heuermann finally put an end to the speculation about the eastbound killer's identity, and will it clear Terry Olson's name once and for all? We are pleased tonight to be joined by James Leonard, the attorney representing Terry Olson. Thank you so much for being with us tonight, James. I got to ask you, Terry gave up his DNA. There was all sorts of testing that went on. I mean, were they ever able to just say flat out his DNA didn't match?
Brian, we gave Mr. Olson's DNA to the Atlantic County Prosecutor's Office more than 16 years ago. And during the last 16 years, they have not cleared Mr. Olson's name. He remains a person of interest, but I think it's fair to say that if that DNA had matched any of the victims in this quadruple homicide here in Atlantic City, Mr. Olson would not be free after 16 years. So I think your viewers can draw their own conclusions regarding the DNA test. So
he was the handyman at the Golden Key Motel. Obviously, there are other employees there, other people in the area. Do you know, has anyone else been questioned? Does Terry have any idea who it may have been, since he knew that area so well?
Over the years, Brian, we've heard from various individuals that have put forward numerous conspiracy theories. I had an individual who's now deceased confess to me. That confession was recorded, submitted to the Atlantic County Prosecutor's Office. I think they deemed that was not credible. We have provided them with various leads that we have received over the years. It's going to be very interesting to see if Mr. Heuermann's name finds its way into the Atlantic County investigation.
Did Terry know the victims at all?
He indicated that he may have seen one of the women in or around the Golden Key Motel back at that time. He was there for a very brief period of time, but personally, he did not know any of the victims.
What do you make of this Rex Heuermann possible connection? I mean, you know the case inside out because you've been representing Terry Olson. Do you think it stacks up? Do you think there could be a real connection here?
I think there could be a connection. I mean, the proximity between Long Island and Atlantic City is approximately 90 minutes. These 4 women in Atlantic County, in Atlantic City, were murdered over the span of about 3 weeks in 2006. We know what happens in Long Island in 2010. It wouldn't surprise me if there was a connection. I do know that there were viable DNA samples on the clothes and body of at least 2 of the women in Atlantic City. 2 of them, unfortunately, were very badly decomposed, their body submersed in water and subjected to the elements. So if there's a DNA match, obviously we're going to get somewhere. In the event that it is not Rex Heuermann or his DNA does not come back, I don't know that we're any closer to solving this mystery, which is approaching its 17th year.
Yeah, it's quite a mystery. And you know, look, I'm glad that the Heuermann case is bringing attention to some of these other mysteries. Perhaps it'll revitalize the investigations a little bit. I was looking into your client, Terry Olson. He was charged with secretly videotaping a 15-year-old girl around the same time of the murders, from what I understand. Do you think that's the sole reason that they started investigating him and trying to connect him as the killer?
I think the reason that he fell under investigation was his proximity to the Golden Key Motel, and then it spiraled from there. He volunteered a polygraph test. He volunteered his DNA, which we gave to the Atlanta County Prosecutor's Office back in June of 2007. He spoke with investigators in excess of 6 hours without an attorney. These are not typically things that someone who is guilty does. I have no doubt as we sit here today, as I did back in 2007 when we were in and out of court with Mr. Olson, that Terry Olson had absolutely nothing to do with these murders.
So he just lives as a person of interest? I mean, that's got to be an awful way to live.
Well, you know, that cloud looms over his head, but unfortunately, the Atlanta County Prosecutor's Office is not in the business of clearing anyone, because their official company line is that he was never formally a suspect.
Yeah, interesting.
He was simply a person of interest. So
well, we'll follow
Mr. Olson has moved on with his life.
Yeah, we'll follow it. Very, very interesting. James Leonard, thank you for coming on tonight. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you for having me.
Okay. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.